Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling a listener request, and I am so excited to dig into this one.
Oh, yeah.
This is a deep dive into the life and music of V. Red,
V-Red.
a phenomenal alto saxophonist and vocalist.
Really phenomenal.
Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably wondering how she made such a huge impact on jazz, especially when you think about the time that she was really coming up and the fact that it was so hard for women to make it in jazz back then.
Absolutely.
So to help us unpack all of this, we've got a fantastic podcast episode
Okay.
all about V. Red.
Sounds good. I'm ready to jump in.
Me too. And just to give you a little taste before we get started,
Yeah.
Red's career really blossomed during a time when opportunities for women in jazz were
Extremely limited.
super limited.
Uh-huh.
So how did she navigate that? Well, let's find out.
Let's do it.
All right, so where should we start with V. Red's story?
Well, like so many great musicians, her journey began with family.
Okay.
She was born into a musical household in 1928. Her father, Alton Red, was a drummer
Oh, wow.
and a co-founder of the Clef Club in New Orleans, a prominent jazz institution.
Wow, talk about being immersed in music from day one.
Absolutely.
It really makes you wonder how much that early exposure shaped her path.
Oh, for sure.
And it wasn't just her dad.
No.
Her mom played saxophone too, and her brother was a percussionist.
Wow, a whole family band.
Music was definitely in her blood.
It seems that way. And speaking of early influences, there's this great story about her great-aunt, Alma Hightower.
Oh yeah, I read about her.
She was a musician and educator who convinced a 10-year-old Vi to switch from piano to saxophone.
Oh.
Talk about a pivotal moment.
What a nudge in the right direction from her great aunt.
Really?
It really highlights the impact that a mentor can have, especially at that young age.
Yeah, for sure.
But wait, there's more.
There's always more.
During junior high, Red played with future jazz giants Melba Liston,
What's...
Dan Dexter Gordon.
Now that is impressive.
Can you imagine?
Imagine being in a band with those two as a teenager. Talk about foreshadowing an incredible career.
Absolutely. But there's more to her story than just music.
Yeah, okay.
She graduated from Los Angeles State College in 1954 and even earned a teaching certificate from USC.
Oh, that's interesting. It makes you wonder if teaching might have influenced her music in any way.
Yeah.
Was it common for women musicians to also pursue academic paths back then?
That's a great question. We often hear about musicians supplementing their income with teaching, but
Right.
the experience itself might have shaped her approach to music.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think that's definitely worth exploring.
Yeah.
It speaks to her dedication and the challenges musicians faced,
Right.
especially women. Imagine navigating a male-dominated music scene while also trying to break into academia.
Exactly.
She was clearly determined to make her mark.
Yeah.
And she did. By the late 1940s, she was playing professionally
Wow.
and becoming a known presence in the Los Angeles jazz scene.
Okay.
This was the era of Central Avenue,
Central Avenue.
a vibrant but notoriously male-dominated scene.
Central Avenue was a melting pot of musical talent. And can you imagine the atmosphere? The jam sessions?
Oh, yeah.
The sheer energy of that place?
Oh, yeah.
But it's crucial to remember the societal norms of the time.
Absolutely.
Women in jazz faced significant obstacles.
It's hard to imagine the kind of perseverance it must have taken to carve out a space for herself in
Right.
that environment.
Yeah.
The podcast episode mentions she had a Parker-inspired style.
Parker-inspired.
What exactly does that mean? Was she simply copying Charlie Parker, or was there more to it?
Parker-inspired can mean a lot of things.
Sure.
While Charlie Parker was undoubtedly a major influence in bebop,
Of course.
musicians like V. Red weren't simply imitating him. They took those foundational elements, those complex harmonies and improvisational skills,
Right.
and built upon them, developing their own unique voices.
So she was taking those bebop influences and making them her own,
Absolutely.
even in a scene dominated by men. That must have taken a lot of confidence and skill.
Absolutely. And we're just scratching the surface of her story.
I can't wait to hear more about how she broke through those barriers and made her mark on the jazz world.
Me too.
So how does she go from, like, navigating that male-dominated jazz scene to
Yeah.
actually breaking through those barriers?
Well, 1962 was a pivotal year for her.
Okay.
She released her debut album,
Uh-huh.
Bird Call,
Okay.
a tribute to the legendary Charlie Parker.
What a powerful way to announce your arrival, like,
Oh, yeah.
to dedicate your first album to a figure like Charlie Parker.
Right.
That must have taken some guts. What do you think she was trying to convey with that choice?
I think it's a bold statement for sure.
Yeah.
It suggests a deep connection to bebop
Mm-hmm.
and a desire to showcase her understanding of the genre.
Yeah.
But it's also about carving out your own space,
Yeah.
showing you can hold your own with the greats,
Right.
even in a male-dominated field.
It's like saying, I'm here. I know my stuff.
Exactly.
I'm ready to make my mark.
Yes.
And she didn't stop there. Just a year later, in 1963, she released Lady Soul,
Okay.
which really cemented her reputation as a leading voice on the alto sax.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that album featured some incredible musicians, too,
Oh, yeah.
like Barney Kessel on guitar, Leroy Vinnegar on bass, and Dick Hyman on piano.
Wow.
These weren't just any sidemen. These were top-tier players,
Right.
highly respected in the jazz world.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sensing a theme here, surrounding yourself with that level of talent.
Yeah,
Speaks volumes about her artistry and the respect she commanded within the jazz community.
absolutely.
And get this, the liner notes for Lady Soul were written by Leonard Feather.
Leonard Feather.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal, right?
Absolutely. Leonard Feather was a renowned jazz critic and historian.
Yeah.
His endorsement carried a lot of weight, especially back then.
Right.
Having him write the liner notes for your album
Yeah.
is like getting a stamp of approval from the ultimate jazz authority.
Talk about validation. But her success wasn't limited to the U.S. During this period, Via Red toured internationally, playing in Japan, Sweden, Spain, Paris, London.
Wow.
The list goes on.
Her international appeal really highlights her ability to connect with audiences worldwide. And let's not forget her groundbreaking 10-week residency at Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London.
Wow.
For a female jazz musician to secure such a prestigious gig during that era
Yeah.
was almost unheard of.
It's incredible to think about the impact she was making on a global scale. But even with all the success, I can't help but think about the challenges she must face as a woman in jazz, even as she was breaking down barriers.
Yeah, you're right. It's important to acknowledge that despite her talent and international acclaim, she likely still encountered discrimination.
Absolutely.
Promoters, critics, even fellow musicians.
Right.
They might not have always treated her as an equal.
Yeah.
It's a sad reality of that era, and it's something that so many talented women in jazz had to contend with.
It makes you wonder how much more we might have heard from those voices if they'd been given the same opportunities and respect as their male counterparts.
It's a thought-provoking question for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that even as we celebrate Via Red's achievements,
Yes.
we need to acknowledge the systemic challenges that existed
Yes.
and continue to exist for women in music.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing both the triumphs and the struggles.
Right.
So what happened next in her story? Did she continue to tour internationally?
Well, in the mid-1960s, she settled in San Francisco,
Okay.
leading a group with her husband, drummer Richie Goldberg.
Okay.
Can you imagine balancing a demanding music career
Right.
with family life?
Oh, yeah.
It must have been a juggling act.
And on top of that, she still found time to collaborate with jazz giants
Oh, yeah.
like Earl Hines and Max Roach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about her dedication to her craft and her ability to connect with other musicians.
Yeah.
Collaborating with legends like Hines and Roach wasn't just about adding big names to her resume.
Right.
It was about pushing her musical boundaries, exploring new ideas,
Yeah.
and contributing to the evolution of jazz.
It's a testament to both her talent and her ambition. She clearly wasn't content to rest on her laurels.
Nope.
So how did her career evolve from there? Did she stay in San Francisco?
Actually, she returned to her roots in Los Angeles in 1969.
Okay, so back to LA.
Yes, back to LA.
What was happening in her career during this time?
Well, remember that teaching certificate she earned earlier in her life?
Uh-huh.
This is where it comes full circle.
Oh, wow.
From the 1970s onward, she dedicated herself to educating and mentoring the next generation of musicians.
Wow, that's amazing. She went from navigating a male-dominated jazz scene to becoming a mentor
Yeah,
for aspiring musicians. It's like she was paving the way for others to follow in her footsteps.
exactly. It highlights another dimension of her legacy.
Right.
She wasn't just a gifted performer and collaborator.
Yeah.
She was also a dedicated educator who understood the importance of passing on knowledge
Right.
and inspiring future generations.
Her story is really inspiring. She achieved so much in a time when it was incredibly difficult for women to succeed in the jazz world.
Absolutely.
But her impact extended beyond performing.
yeah,
She was a mentor, a collaborator, a true innovator.
absolutely. And her music continued to evolve during this period.
Oh, wow.
In 1977, she released an album called Now's the Time
Okay.
with pianist Marian McPartland and guitarist Mary Osborne.
Wow.
It's a fantastic example of her ability to collaborate and create something truly special
Yeah.
with other talented women in jazz.
I love that she was working with other female musicians.
Yeah,
It speaks to a sense of camaraderie and a desire to lift each other up
yeah.
in a field that wasn't always welcoming to women.
Hmm.
Now's the time. What a fitting title for an album
Right.
that showcases the talent and resilience of these incredible women.
It is. And it underscores the fact that Via Red's artistry transcended time
Yeah.
and continued to evolve throughout her career.
This deep dive is really giving me a new appreciation for V. Red's legacy. It's more than just her music. It's her whole story. The barriers she broke, the people she collaborated with, the knowledge she shared. It's truly remarkable.
It is. And we're not done yet.
Oh.
There's still more to explore in Via Red's story.
Okay, I'm hooked. What else can you tell us about her later career and lasting impact?
Okay, so we've talked about her incredible career, her collaborations, even her dedication to teaching.
Right.
But what about recognition? Did Via Red receive the accolades she deserved?
She absolutely did. In 1989, she received the Lifetime Achievement Award
Wow.
from the Los Angeles Jazz Society,
That's fantastic.
recognizing her immense contributions to the jazz world.
It's wonderful to know that she was acknowledged for her talent and her impact,
Yeah,
especially by her local community.
right.
And it didn't stop there.
It didn't. In 2001, she was honored with the Mary Lou Williams Women in Jazz Award.
Wow, that's a powerful tribute.
It is.
Mary Lou Williams was a pioneering jazz pianist and composer, a true trailblazer for women in music. Absolutely.
To be recognized in her name must have been incredibly meaningful.
Yeah, it's a testament to Via Red's lasting legacy
Yeah.
and the impact she had on generations of musicians.
It really is an inspiring story.
It is.
She achieved so much in a time when it was incredibly difficult for women to succeed in the jazz world.
Yeah.
But what about her musical style specifically?
Yeah.
What made her stand out as an alto saxophonist?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, her style was rooted in bebop,
Right.
with those intricate harmonies and a focus on improvisation. But she wasn't just imitating Charlie Parker.
Right.
She brought her own voice to the instrument, a blend of power and grace,
Yeah.
with a tone that was both lyrical and assertive.
So she was building upon those bebop foundations, but adding her own unique flair.
Absolutely.
Are there any particular recordings that showcase her style really well?
Definitely. Besides the albums we've already mentioned, Now's the Time, Lady Soul, and Bird Call, there are many others worth exploring.
Oh, cool.
Via Red is Red Hot from 1957
Okay.
is a great early example of her fiery energy.
Yeah.
And The Soul of Jazz from 1982 features a stunning duet with pianist Cedar Walton.
I'm making a note to check those out.
Good.
It's fascinating to hear how she continued to evolve musically throughout her career.
Yeah, her story's a reminder that artistic growth never really stops.
Right.
Even with all her success, she never stopped exploring, collaborating, pushing her boundaries.
And sadly, we lost this incredible talent in 2022.
We did.
But her legacy lives on through her recordings, her students, and the countless musicians she inspired.
What do you think is the most important takeaway from Via Red's story?
For me, it's the power of perseverance
Yeah.
and the importance of recognizing those who break down barriers. Via Red's story reminds us to celebrate the pioneers,
Yeah.
the individuals who defy expectations and pave the way for others.
It's a story of talent, resilience, and a deep love for jazz.
It really is.
It's been an honor to delve into her life and music with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to you listening, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to experience Via Red's music firsthand.
Yeah.
Her story is a reminder that even in the face of adversity, talent and determination can prevail.
For sure.
So seek out her recordings, let her music wash over you, and discover the artistry of a true jazz trailblazer.